For over 30 years, the expanded universe provided fans with stories and insight into a galaxy far, far away. Though it's been over a decade since its cancellations, those stories still resonate with us today.
Mere words cannot adequately describe what a profound effect the EU has had on my life. You know, these books and stories and comics were the friends that were always there. You know, I could, regardless of what was going on in my life, I could pick up one of these stories and transport myself to a galaxy far, far away.
To me, the thing that makes the Expanded Universe special is it takes a trilogy of movies that I love and it turns it into a universe. It turns it into this massive interconnected web of stories and characters on a scale that no human has ever accomplished before. That's what makes the Expanded Universe special. In my opinion, it makes the Expanded Universe great.
Because these stories are like super impactful and they have such great messages, and they've really like shaped my character and given me things to strive for and things to hope for. And given me like hope in the darkest of times, like when I'm feeling anxious or depressed or anything like that. Like I know like I can rely on those stories to kind of to help me bounce back.
And I love this universe. I hope one day it can be continued. There are so many plot threads left over that are not completed, you know. And there's a way to be a win-win for where all fans can be happy. A couple novels every year. This universe means so much to me. And I mainly just want an ending for it.
The Expanded Universe has been with me through good times and through bad times. It's always been there, a constant and reliable friend that I've spent and invested so much time in. I love the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and through it I've met so many great people and made so many great friends that I wouldn't have known otherwise. The Star Wars Expanded Universe has opened my horizons, has inspired me to want to pursue writing, and has been an all-around huge, important light in my life.
Quite literally changed my life. I've met some amazing people, and hopefully next year, less than a year now, I'll meet these people for the first time at Legends Con, God willing. Not only that, I've learned some incredible lessons from these stories and these books, and certainly the Expanded Universe has changed my life for the better.
And one of my personal favorite things about the EU are the friends that I've made in my journey of reading, reviewing, and collecting the Expanded Universe. It is filled with great people that I'm glad to call friends. And it is just, this is the best continuation of the Star Wars story. It really pains me to say that it has been discontinued. I really hope that one day we will get a new story.
What does the EU mean to me? It means a whole lot, and I could go on and on. Simple version, it's been a consistent and healthy hobby and source of happiness for me for the last 5 years as I've been reading through it, and I'm approaching its end. And, you know, I can find other things in life to occupy my free time with other than Star Wars, but what a tragedy that I'm going to approach the end of the Expanded Universe and all the material. And not only is there not more, because they're not publishing anymore in this timeline, but the story is not done. The substance of expanded Star Wars universe content is in the Expanded Universe, and it's, no matter how much effort or stories or quality is poured in to the Disney continuity, it simply can never be what the EU was and is.
The next one is talk about how the Star Wars Expanded Universe affected me. Well, it definitely gave me a hobby of searching bookstores, antique stores, and all kinds of different things there. It made me want to read even more. It helped me read more because whenever I was younger, I struggled with reading. And now I'd say I'm pretty good at it. Now, as a fan, it kept me interested in Star Wars because the movies are fantastic. all 6 of them, plus the Ewoks movies. But it kept me as a fan.
While the expanded universe has impacted me greatly, obviously, I run or help run a nonprofit that's dedicated to bringing Star Wars books to children's hospitals, libraries, schools, that sort of thing, to ensure that the next generation gets to enjoy the stories just as we have. It has also impacted me in that I learned to build computers because one of the games I ended up getting later on, Force Commander, was not playable on my computer, and I didn't take no for an answer. So I learned how to upgrade my computer and did. I really enjoyed that game, by the way. And then the only other thing I would like to add to this is why I believe the expanded universe should be continued. The stories were not completed. There is a lot of storytelling left to be told. Under the impression that, frankly, that the stories should never end, and that every generation going forward should add to this tapestry that has already begun to be woven.
I can't really say how long I've been an EU fan because my interest in Star Wars has always just been to find out more. And back then, it wasn't really the EU. It was just all Star Wars. What I loved about it was that you could watch the movies, and then you had these questions of, well, what happens next? What was this? What was that? And there was these answers to all of your questions and even more in this vast universe that you could dig into. And that all told one greater story.
If you want to know what happens next, if you like anything about Star Wars prior to 2014 and have any interest in wondering what the heck happened later, the EU matters. It certainly matters to me. And based on the number of people that have joined the fandom after 2014, it seems to still matter to them. So as difficult as the last 10 years have been as an EU fan, they've been great too, because a great community has grown around the fandom, and I'm just as hopeful for the next 10 years as I was prior to 2014 about the EU continuing. Again, nothing in principle stands in the way of it continuing, and in the meantime, we've got a great community of fans and a great legacy of content to enjoy.
And when it comes to the expanded universe, boy, have I followed it closely. I have bought the EU books, the EU comics, RPGs, magazines, reference guides, video games, tabletop games, card games, action figures, pretty much anything under the sun that you can imagine that was expanded universe related that I've been able to get my hands on. I've tried to collect it ever since the 1990s all the way up until its premature end in 2014. Today, I'm here to ask for more of that. I'm asking for the EU to officially continue. We want more new EU stories. We want Lucasfilm to use this tremendous asset that so many people have built up throughout the decades and to not keep that shelved away.
I don't think any other intellectual property has ever grown to be so large and yet keep a cohesive continuity, especially given all the different authors and writers and people involved in the projects. It is an inspiration to me as a storyteller, someone that wants to tell stories through film and through written mediums eventually. If anything ever takes off to be anywhere near as big, I want a continuity like that.
And these stories just flow very well, like they fit, if that makes sense. And there's also a lot of material out there that was in the works of being put out and got canceled or shelved. For example, Heart of the Jedi, Supernatural Encounters, a story by John Dak Morton, Around Dak. The Star Wars Timeline.net is a phenomenal. It's just so resourceful, and there's a lot of lost EU content available out there for us to read. So we got to give it up to Mr. Joe Bongiorno for that. Incredible guy. Amazing. So I would like to see this be continued because of what it's done for me, not just on a emotional level, but just all around. It takes me to a galaxy far, far away that I love and I'm very passionate about. And I'm very, very grateful, I can't stress that, for all the friendships I made because of Star Wars in the expanded universe, or Legends, if you will.
When you have a movie that has such replayability and you find yourself watching them over and over and over again, it's really neat to revisit these things and spot this person in the background and say, hey, I read a story about them that really resonated with me, that really spoke to me. It makes it feel like such a bigger, fuller, and lived-in universe, but it still has stories to tell. And for all EU fans out there, may the Force be with you.
It's given me real appreciation for just the Star Wars universe as a whole. Like, for nearly 40 years, there was this space where authors and fans could play in this great big sandbox and have it all add up to this greater whole. And as a history buff, I love how that added detail and depth makes it all the more believable. I get why it's not everyone's cup of tea, but for me, it is such an important part of Star Wars history that it shouldn't just be mocked or overlooked. As for me, I've met so many cool fans and people because of it, and I even got to be an editor on this. This is amazing.
What does the expanded universe mean to you? And to me, I can point blank tell you, it means everything. For Legends Con 1, the amount of money that's on the line, this very house that I'm standing in to talk to you was on the line to make sure that could happen. Legends Con 2, very much the same way. Everything's on the line for this community because I believe in you. And of all things, we have to have a place that it's okay to come together and celebrate Legends. We're 10 years out, from the buyout, if you would. And there are plenty of people in the community who really held held the torch rather, after that buyout to keep the hope alive. And I would like to say that we are working with many of them, as we did on the first con, on the second con, to make sure that our community can come together and heal. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Continuation, great. Coming together after something traumatic like that happened, it's been 10 years, and I still don't think that as a community we're over it. And that's okay. People don't have to be. But what I want to do is bring together once more everyone that we can into a peaceful place where we can just love the EU. And I'm putting literally everything on the line to make sure that can happen. So when people ask me what the expanded universe means to me, I can quite literally tell you that it means everything.
What the EU has meant to me, it's just always been there. It's like a comfy blanket you always want to have, It helped me learn to read. It helped me get away for a bit when I was having some rough times in my life. It's helped me meet a lot of really great friends that I'll probably have the rest of my life. Years of collecting. It's a hobby. It's I guess a lifestyle. I don't know. It's kind of weird to say. But it's a big deal to me, And, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the Star Wars Legends timeline.
Want to explore beyond the movies and learn that there's this massive continuity that's carefully constructed and kept in line with each other. It's a big sandcastle project that George Lucas allowed authors and many artists to contribute to his universe and grow it. And, a lot of that could just be crap, but it turns out to be, when you get real talent behind everything, turns out pretty good. I want to see more of it continue. I just think it's such high quality that it's a shame for these stories, this massive storyline, to just come to an end. They owe it to themselves to make more stories in that universe.
And it just makes Star Wars more impactful, more meaningful. These characters, these stories, the lore. It's so compelling to me, and it makes me want to constantly revisit it. So if we never got any more Star Wars Legends, that'd make me sad, but I'd be okay with it because I have a treasure trove of stories. I have 6 incredible films and an amazing treasure trove of stories in the expanded universe. So to me, Legends is my continuity. It's what I follow. It's what I choose to do. But it is just a treasure trove of stories. And I always say, if you want, if you want to see something different than what the current canon is, This is a great alternative, and I'd highly encourage it.
It's just unlike any other. There's no story out there that has better continuity than the expanded universe. It is a beautiful masterpiece. I love it so much, and I'm so glad that I decided to start reading it. And I think that any Star Wars fan out there who really likes the movies is going to benefit so much from getting to see their stories continued through the expanded universe. It is by far the most amazing story I've ever read. It's so huge and it's amazing.
My favorite character is by far Luke Skywalker, all the way. His journey just gets started at the end of episode 6, and he accomplishes amazing things, and we get to see it every step of the way.
Star Wars is one of my all-time favorite franchises, so here I have more material which has been able to expand that. Being able to see more of the characters that I like, exploring more of the universe at various points in time.
Should we continue this series of awesome stories after this discontinuation 10 years ago? I say yes, absolutely. Just find a lot of people who are interested in developing these stories, like in the spirit of George Lucas, and people are going to love them. People are going to love these series. People are going to really get into them. I mean, people were into them so much. I mean, they were what kept people into Star Wars during the drought of the 90s. So, absolutely, I would love to see these continued.
To the future, and why would I like the Star Wars Expanded Universe to continue, would be obviously more stories. The entire saga, the entire storyline of the EU isn't finished. There's a lot of gaps in between, and there's a lot of stories to be continued. There's a lot of stories that ended quite abruptly. And I also think there are a lot of amazing video games and storylines that could be made into a novel, such as the Force Unleashed 3 game that got cancelled. I think that would be amazing if that actually became a novel somewhere down the line in this story. So again, the Star Wars Expanded Universe means a lot to me. It is something that I really like.
Since I was young, I've had the opportunity, the blessing to attend the first Legends Con, to meet many friends through the Final Sith Order Facebook group, through the Supernatural Encounters Discord, getting to talk to artists, writers like Joe Bongiorno, Abel Pena, and people who've been editors like Kyle Rawlings, Edward Dodds, many good names, good friends out there, good writers, people who really desire to keep the world of the expanded universe going, as I'm sure we all do. So may the Force be with you on this anniversary, and here's to whatever there is to come.
As far as what the EU has meant for me, it's really been this amazing outlet for me to explore new Star Wars content over these past couple years, which has been severely lacking lately. And I needed a new outlet for new stories I haven't experienced. And I've got almost 40 years worth of content here that I hadn't read up on. So I've been spending my time going through it, and it has been the best time of my life. I absolutely love it.
I have so many favorite characters, but in no particular order. My favorites would be Jason, Jaina, Anakin, Solo, Darth Krayt, Exar Kun, Quinlan Voss, Ulic Qel-Droma, and many more. How the EU has affected me as a person or meant to me it is a massive universe of characters and locations and lore that I can really lose myself in and have hours upon hours of endless learning and fun. And it really has wanted me to be creative and create content or stories of my own someday. It's very inspiring stuff.
Star Wars has meant so much to me throughout my life. It's a form of escapism, a positive escapism through the dark times and through good. It enhances good days as well. It's my favorite form of all fiction. And as a Star Wars Expanded Universe fan, I love the way it definitely outgrew the movies and made me love Star Wars even more.
And it was my whole world as a kid, and I'm in my late 20s and I've been kind of getting back into it, I'm having a renaissance really of expanded universe content in my late 20s, and it's been such a blast. Some of the greatest stories and characters have come out of the expanded universe, and it really is in large part why I am who I am.
My favorite aspect of the expanded universe was the source books. They tied together the universe beautifully. They have like, they bring together elements from like, the games, the comics, the books, everything into just like, they make it into one coherent thing. Especially towards the end, they were making a lot of really great ones, like Book of Sith. And like, there's just so much, there's endless potential with new source books you could make.
My favorite character of the EU is Kyle Katarn and Dash Rendar.
The EU has meant a lot to me. I've been into the EU since I was about 10 years old. I really got into it after this Disney stuff came up, and it became more important to me as I got older, because the story matters, the continuity matters. The continuity is so major, and everything is so meaningful in the EU.
One of the things that the EU movement has done for me is make sure it stays alive, right? Because not a day goes past where I'm not messaged by someone. It's daily, right? That I'm messaged by someone in the fandom talking about a book they've read or a comic they've found, or just trying to straighten out a bit of lore because apparently I know a thing or two. And so that's always been fun for me. Keeping up those friendships and everything over the years, and I've made some really good friends out of the movement. So that's been very, very nice.
I think it would be great if the Star Wars Expanded Universe was continued for the reasons I was talking about, building that connection. If they made more Star Wars Expanded Universe material that could be enjoyed without all that they're doing with it, if they just went back to the old way of doing things, then people in today's world aren't really going to care about movies from forever ago. So if they made new movies that will appeal to a younger crowd, but staying true to the old material, then that would be really cool to see how it continues to connect people even to this day. So I would love to see more Star Wars Expanded Universe continued.
I'd say the Star Wars EU is just my happy place. It's utterly filled to the brim with incredible stories by talented writers and artists, many of which I'm only just discovering now. It's always been a part of my life, and these stories have had a tremendous impact on me. In particular, Timothy Zahn's writing and characterization has greatly affected my own work as a storyteller. I truly think any fan of Star Wars can find something to enjoy in the EU, and I remain confident that one day we'll get some brand new stories as well. But even if we don't, I feel the EU is so rich and complete, but I'm grateful for and content with what we have. Thank you to everyone who's ever contributed to the EU and who's helped keep it alive all these years. And happy exploring to others like me who have just rediscovered it and are falling in love all over again.
Would I like there to be more Legends content? Yeah, I think so. I remember when Disney bought Star Wars, I was in 8th grade, and I was probably the only guy in school who really was not excited about the prospect of what was going to happen. And, a lot of people seem to enjoy what has happened since. I have certainly taken it in, watched what I was interested in. It's all right, but I really would like there to be more EU.
The Star Wars EU really taught me what it meant for the first time in my life to be transported to a world that wasn't your own in a way that I had never experienced before. It taught me what escapism was, and it showed me that it can be deep and interesting and mature and compelling, and it can tug at your heartstrings, and it can make things just seem so vivid and alive. And It did that for me in times where I needed it, where I felt like I couldn't really go anywhere, but I could go into that world, into that galaxy, into that whole experience. I could really be there side by side with Luke Skywalker as he's overcoming his own struggles and as he's figuring out his place in the universe.
One of my favorite things about the expanded universe is how it expanded upon the characters that are already there. We have so much backstory fleshed out. Episode 3 novelization, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Palpatine, Count Dooku, all these main characters are just getting so fleshed out, so expanded, so much more depth added to them. And that's not just for the movies either. That's for the entire universe. You have these books, like the source books, the essential guides, the essential atlas, warfare, that are just making the universe feel so lived and so real. It's almost like ancient history, real history. All these topics like economics, politics, socio-cultural issues, all of this real world stuff is simulated in an entirely fictional universe, but it makes you feel like you're reading a history book about something real, something tangible. The expanded universe is just a massive sandbox of ideas that all these authors and fans are building upon.
And that's partly why I've been loving, Joe's supernatural encounters. It's just interweaving from so many obscure sources. So that's how I got into loving the expanded universe and collecting it, and just, it really helped me. It really did at a very difficult time in my life, and I've loved it ever since.
And so that was my introduction to EU, and I'm still going with it. I still got a lot ahead of me, which is always great.
Guys, let's celebrate the EU. Let's keep reading it. Let's keep posting videos. Keep posting your podcasts. It's such a fun thing to be involved with. I love the EU community, and I've made several friends in it, and it's changed my life, and I think it's changed many lives.
Ever since then, I have been on the road to try and read everything in the Star Wars Expanded Universe. The Expanded Universe was a remarkable achievement in science fiction and deserves to be continued.
To me personally, I really loved how they expanded the story of the movies, and it really shows how there is just so much more stories, because it's a whole other galaxy. There are so many billions of characters they can read about and learn about.
The extended universe has been just a big thing for me, just because of the kinds of stories that are in them and the morals that are in them. And I don't know, for me, I've just really connected with them. Great characters, great stories, but it's almost always about trying to do what's right. And, reaching to become better. And to me, that's just what the best stories are all about.
For me personally, I would like to see the Dawn of the Jedi era get a continuation. I feel that since it was cut short by the cancellation of the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and I would like to see new stories take place in that specific era. Now, with the Expanded Universe, when it comes to recommending it to other people, the reasons why I like it, I'll say, is that I feel that characters from the movies, I believe, get the character explored more deeply in said books. For example, Lambert of Evil. If you want to learn more about the Star Wars Expanded Universe, or generally Star Wars in general and the universe, I would recommend the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Or if you just want to read something nice to pass the time, I would recommend the Star Wars Expanded Universe.
The Expanded Universe has really helped me as a Star Wars fan get to explore the characters beyond the movies. It's also made me less angry and upset, and I'm, more happy now as a person and as a Star Wars fan. I think back when I was a canon fan, I was always complaining about every show and movie and book that would come out, but now that I'm an EU fan, I'm less likely to do that. I would love it if the Expanded Universe could definitely continue in some way, shape, or form. I think more novels would be awesome. I think there's several characters whose stories aren't done, like Jaina Solo, for instance.
The Star Wars Expanded Universe has meant a lot to me over the years. These characters and stories reflect universal truths about life, good and evil, tyranny and liberty, while also being specific and having a great history and lore to dive into and explore. It is fun entertainment, but it's also more than that. The EU is full of cautionary tales, stories of perseverance, and is loaded with real-world wisdom which has affected me to this day. It's led to new and strengthened friendships and sparked a lot of great conversation.
Now, as to how the EU has affected me as a person, well, I mean, it got me to read, clearly. Besides that, it's just been a lot of my closest friendships have been due to this shared interest in, because I mean, you meet someone who likes Star Wars, great. You meet someone who likes EU stuff, it's like, okay, you're hardcore, we are definitely going to get along.
Since it's been gone. But with all the stories that we have and all the amazing contributions people have given to the expanded universe, it's really like it's still here. There's so much stuff to read. There's so much stuff I've already read, so much stuff still to read, that to me, it's like it's going on forever.
And I got into the expanded universe when I was roughly 10, 11 years old through Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. And my favorite characters are Kreia and Revan, in that order.
I'm significantly along the road, but I'm not at the point where I've kind of can call myself completely done with the EU, having read everything. There's so much more to explore, and I'm just looking forward to, continue engaging with that, to get more involved in the community. And again, I hope to see everyone at, Legends Con 2 and or other conventions. And yeah, I hope we can continue loving the EU and celebrating what it was together.
So I'm really happy to have been able to share this. I know I've probably gone on a little long, but I don't know. You can't just sum it up such love in just a few sentences,
Happy May the 4th, and thank you guys so much for watching this best of cut of the project. Cutting a 6-hour video down to what I wanted to be about 30 minutes was no easy task, because every second of every video was a best of part for the video, in my opinion. Everyone brought their A game, and everyone's video deserves to be watched and was incredibly done. So just because this is the best of bits that I've put into this 30-minute shorter video so that people can watch the gist of the project more, doesn't mean there isn't so much more great stuff in the full video overall, because everyone did an absolutely wonderful job. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting the project. Stay tuned for future edits. I'm definitely planning to use the footage for further stuff, further category question-related edits with a lot of the stuff returning. And stay tuned for 2 bonus episodes coming soon as well, because I got 2 late entries that I can put up roughly in the next couple weeks or so. So stay tuned to that. Thank you for watching this best of edition. And if you haven't already, go check out the original video with all 75 entries, because it's absolutely wonderful. Happy May the 4th, and may the Force be with you.